So thanks. I'll need your attention. And if you get lost along the way, but you have a question, make sure you write it down because we will have a question and answer panel at the end. Alrighty, let's see. Okay. So we're here today because I've already talked to a lot of you in the past, and this topic continues to come up. Some of you I haven't talked to so much, but the question is always, should we train our entry-level engineers, assistant, associate engineers, student interns, the skill of Autocad Civil 3D, so to use Civil 3D? And everyone has a different opinion. There's some of us engineers who never had the training, and some of us who started with that training. And so there's somehow a misconception of maybe we would lose a different skill set if we gain this skill set. For example, I've recently went to the Autodesk website, and what's really neat about Autodesk is that you don't need to purchase their products in order to subscribe. And if you subscribe, you can use and read their articles. You can watch videos and kind of have like an introduction of their software, so you can familiarize yourself with it. And so I was on their website, and I went on to an article that caught my eye, which was the 7 habits of highly productive CAD users. And after I read it and went down the list, some of us are familiar with the 7 habits of effective people, the book. So that just caught my eye, and I read the article. And what's neat about the articles is that they also have a forum in where engineers can comment, ask questions, and just join on a conversation. And so this conversation, the article prompt, the conversation that we've all had before, which is, do we want to train our entry-level engineers to use AutoCAD Civil 3D? And I obviously think that we should. That's where I'm for training our entry-level engineers this skill. And the reason for it is because for three of the items listed here, which specifically for those reasons, make use of existing data, the physical user interface, and share your knowledge with your team. So I'll further expand on that, but basically for these 3 reasons. Project delivery time. You save project delivery time. You are able to create another platform to communicate your ideas. So back in the days, we used to draft. There was sketching, and that's how we would communicate our ideas. But now you still start off that way, but now you have a second resource, which is to plan out your ideas and use the software to visualize your ideas and share it with other engineers or designers. And the third one is that you can actually create like a tool palette that will help you in the future. So based on what we do in our industry and our company, we can create a tool palette that is customized to our use, which will have fittings, pipe fittings. It can have cross sections, curb and gutters, just like more of the general items that we always use and will always be in our drawings. And to add to that as well, you can reuse an existing drawing that you create for a future drawing. For example, if we have a project that ends, it's about 3,000 feet of a main street, and then it ends at an intersection, but in the next 2 years, we're going to carry on at that point and move further east on that street. Well, we can use the data we've gathered at that point to start off for our next project. So you get a quick head start. And so those are some of the benefits, and some other benefits will come up. But if you are not subscribed to Autodesk, please do. There's so much information and just in our industry, but specific to Civil 3D. civil engineering. Okay, so this is where we're gonna take it to AutoCAD, so just stay with me for those who have never used it.
Is this where you escaped?
Yeah. Just stay with me real quick. I will get this together. Alright. This would just be an overview of what's going on in Civil 3D right now, 2020, their first software 2020. Alright, so we have 3 minutes of an overview. Is everybody ready to start their drawing?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it covered a lot. There's a lot going on there.
Hi, my name is Matt Coates. Welcome to the Autocad Civil 3D for Civil Engineering course.
Alright, so we're back on track. So after that's just covered the different infrastructure in civil engineering. So some of the things shown there we don't use, but some of the things that we do use are like, for example, this is a view of the drawing, a sheet on in the software, so Civil 3D, and this is in 2D. So you can see the pipes, they're crossings. We're all familiar with these type of crossings, and that's a 2D view. So there's details, there's a crossing and the conflicts with other utilities, and But if you have the 3D feature, this is a 3D feature, and I know it's kind of bright in here, so you can't really see it, but what it means is that if you get a survey, if you have some type of measure like elevations and points, you can create a 3D view of the pipe, and that's a profile view. So that's really, really useful because sometimes, although we know that there's other utilities there, you don't really have a feel for what the layout of the pipe will be until you see everything across this and how difficult that can be for a contractor and the foreman to actually lay out. So although our pipe doesn't gradually descend like a sewer line, and a lot of people don't see use of this, I think it's important because it's more the constructability and the feasibility on site. So I think this is a great feature to use even for water pipes. And then just some more basic stuff, but that we do use at our plant sites. At our well pump sites, we house them with something that looks very similar to a residential home. And so this is like the 2D view, and this is the 3D view, which is nice if you're ever gonna have a public outreach and a lot of the public is not familiar with a floor plan, a site view, then you can show them a 3D view. And these are just some of the features. So we're gonna get into the actual AutoCAD, using AutoCAD Civil 3D. All right, so I put this kind of bright and it has a lot of colors just so we can see it. But this is basically how our sheets will look. And so it looks very neat. We have a detail, we have that crossing that I showed earlier, we have our construction notes. It's really, really, really neat. But it's made out of objects, not blocks. And so that's a big difference, and that's kind of one of the good features about Civil 3D is that that's how you can save time, because as opposed to sketching it out and doing each detail one at a time, when you use Civil 3D, you can do it once, object by object, and then create a block, which makes it one, altogether one unit, and then you could just copy and paste it many, many times after. So it'll take you 5 minutes, which is the same time it takes you to sketch, but after that, it'll take you like 10 seconds to recopy it. And in our industry, we're using the same fittings all along our project. So I think this is how you can save time. So an example of that would be here we have, see how many lines, there's one line, there's two lines, there's three lines, there's the bolts, and each bolt has a small little tiny line. So if we had to do that 20 times, that's a lot of work. Opposed to if you make it into a block, it's going to be one unit. And all you need to do to make it a block basically is just like the browsers have an address bar, we have a command bar, and all you would do is type in block. Okay, there we go. And you would give it a name. So I will call it a T because that's the fitting name. And then you would select all your objects. So all my objects right now, I have so many because it's like line after line after line. So I'm going to select them all. And it takes a little while, and that's part of why we want to make it a block. See, you have to highlight everything first, and there's so much line work. This is basically like sketching it by hand because you do every piece that makes up this T. So let's just say that's it, right? Right there, I kind of highlighted the most. So we'll press enter, and then we give that unit a center point. So I'm gonna pick like the middle of it. I'm gonna pick this line to this midpoint line, and then that's it. And then we press OK, and now it's a block. So now I can use the other features, copy, and I can make so many, 10 seconds. And I could do that for everything that we reuse over and over and over. So that's how we can save time. And then also the quality, because sometimes if you sketch it by hand, the second one might not look the same. And although we don't draft anymore, we do rely on our drafters to make up these designs and to make a plan set. So there's still a lot of detail, and even if you were to do one by one by one by one, there's a possibility they're not all gonna look the same, just because, you know, it's human error, or we're human. So that's some, I know it's a lot, but we can automatically see the benefit of some of the features that Civil 3D has. And so we'll go back to oh no, okay, that's not the beginning. Just kidding. Okay, so this is just step by step, but we can go over that after. But basically, objects versus blocks. That's how you can save time. One of the many ways to save time using AutoCAD. So back to the article, one of the engineers who wrote on the forum, she was a consultant, and at this level, she's a project engineer, and she wrote that when she started, she was an entry-level engineer. She had a drafter working on her project, and after going through the review process, which is basically back and forth sharing your plans with your drafter and giving updates to make a better design, at some point she was at the final stage, which was 90% review, and there was a few comments. There were minimal comments like title block, like the name of the project, or just little things, but she was still dependent on her drafter to make these updates. And because of his work schedule, and because they were in another office, and it takes time for you to share the updates and give them the work and have them do the work, she said it took 3 days. And now that she's proficient in AutoCAD Civil 3D, she realized that all the updates that she needed to do would have taken her 1 hour. But instead, she took 3 days because of the process of handing it to the drafter. So that's another way to save time. And if you work for a consultant, 3 days to have a head start on another project is a huge deal. And for other agencies, for our company, being early on a project means that you can start your next project that soon. So it makes a big difference if, at least at the entry level, our engineers are able to make updates that are insignificant, or they can become proficient and actually use the tools as you optimize your design and dynamic calculations. So Civil 3D has in itself, it has calculations that you can just change parameters and it will calculate for you. For example, if you're designing a plant site that is at a different grade than what you want, and you're gonna have to cut through the soil and excavate, it can, if you give it the existing surface, which you will get from AutoCAD data, you put it at the grade that you want it, you'll know how much you need to cut and how much you'll need to remove and transport to another site. So these are some of the tools that when you become a proficient engineer using AutoCAD Civil 3, you can actually use to make a better design, a more accurate design. And so you achieve decreased project delivery time by minimizing error and rework, incorporate design changes automatically, better understanding of location and potential obstacles, optimize design, dynamic calculations, which I just covered, and most importantly, an alternative platform to communicate ideas, because everything starting off a project with the right plan, with the right idea, and having all the components that really will affect your project from the beginning really makes your project. You can create the best design because you have all the accurate existing information, and you just create you optimize your design by doing that. So now, anybody have questions? I know that we covered a lot, and it's a lot for 7 a.m. And I'm so sorry if you took a nap in between. Yes, Ron?
Assuming that I wanted to pursue this further on my own, what would be the resources that you would recommend that I dive into?
So there's AutoCAD Desk has a professional license, which you would, if you're a consultant on your own, or if you're representing a company, and that's a way to get a license. But this is really, really neat. It has a 3-year license for students and teachers for free. And actually, for my laptop, that's what I downloaded because it's not my work laptop. And it has everything. The same features, everything. The only difference is that on the side, it will say it's student or a teacher opposed to your name and possibly your company name. And that's just for, you wouldn't be able to use that as a sheet to sell to a company or contractor to use because it's not a professional level. But as far as the software itself, it has all the features, everything as if you were to buy it, buy the professional license. So you would just go to AutoCAD Desk, you go to their free trial, which is 30 days, not 30 days, 3 years, and it's the student and teaching free trial. Sherry?
Sorry, so what are you drawing? Is it a bridge, or how do you apply this software in reality?
So this is for water industry. So what you saw were pipelines, water pipelines, and basically you were crossing. It looked like a bridge because sometimes under, there's so many utilities. There's a whole other world underground, and so basically it's showing you if I put this pipe here, what will I be crossing? There might be a gas line this way. There might be something over it. So it just shows the cross section of what you will be in conflict with. Underground, but like the floor plan, that's above ground, and so you can do anything. You could do water industry, structural. They use this for bridges. Autodesk has Revit, has other softwares as well that you use for all different industries in engineering. And Bert?
I learned a lot from your presentation. I'll try to emulate.
Oh, that's the way to use the word, and thank you. I appreciate that. I'm guessing you weren't sleeping. I couldn't tell because first I was covering you, but well, Ron.
How much does it cost if you want to subscribe to the software on a professional level?
Well, it depends how many licenses you have, and I just tried. I checked on my own, and to purchase one, it was $2,200. And I think it's for 3 years as well. But I believe if you have many licenses, you can negotiate that price. And along with the license comes training as well. Anybody else? Alrighty. Thank you for your time.